Welcome everybody to SWEN 640, Research Methods. So my name is Daniel Krutz, and I'll be your professor for this semester. And so I just want to get things kicked off for the semester by welcoming everybody and going over some of the initial items like the syllabus, some course resources, and a little bit about the course before I start talking about research methods. Okay. So the expectations for the course are that it will be very different than a lot of other courses that you've taken. As you can tell from the syllabus, which we'll go over in a bit, there are no exams, and let me repeat that, there are no exams throughout the semester. There aren't a lot of homeworks or projects you'll be working on, and a lot of time will be devoted towards discussion, towards you reading different materials, and you really learning about how to conduct research and you conducting research. So there is a lot of freedom for you. Now that is a double-edged sword. If you don't make best use of this free time, of this freedom that you have, you won't get a lot out of this course, or you won't get as much out of the course as you can and should get out of things. So it does take diligence on your part to make sure that you're using the best use of your time. In this course, you will be exposed to research, and research is something that's not easy. Research, it can be one of the most challenging, most frustrating things that you do in academia. Now, if you are doing research for any amount of time and you don't get frustrated, don't get frustrated with different paths that you're trying to go down. Maybe somebody else does the research before you get a chance to do it, or maybe you just get frustrated without being able to determine a research path. If you're not frustrated at times, you're probably not doing research well, and that's something you should consider. But at the end of the day, research is something that can and should be something that you really enjoy doing. When doing research, you're doing something that nobody in the history of the world has ever done. You are solving a problem that can help other people. And so for me, that is one of the most challenging and rewarding things about doing research. So I want to get things kicked off by going over the course materials a little bit. And so I'll start by going over the course website. And from this is a course URL. And on this site, it has different material like the course syllabus, different assignments, a link to lecture slides, project information, and just general course resources. And we will talk about these different items really throughout the rest of the semester. So let's kick things off by going over the syllabus. And I won't read through all of these different items in the syllabus, but some of the main topics we'll end up talking about throughout the semester, and then what you'll read about is we'll cover some resources like the course library. We'll cover topics like experimental design, internal, external validation, disseminating or sharing your research results, project planning, and proposal development. And at the conclusion of the course, the goal is to prepare you to be ready for a thesis or capstone project. Now, you're probably a first or second semester graduate student, so you have a little bit of time before you need to decide if you need to take a thesis or a capstone project. But that's something we will discuss later on through the semester. There are a couple textbooks that I recommend you purchase. They are listed here. Digital copies of the textbook are totally fine, but I would really recommend you get these because they are something that's really helpful. And the other book I recommend is The Craft of Research by Booth. I think this is a very, very good class. So in here, you can see the breakdown of the course. So assignments are worth 40%, project is worth 40%. The final presentation is worth 10%, and in-class activities are worth 10%. And in here, you can see this is a breakdown of the letter grades, the percentile of grades in the course. There's also an assignments tab. This has information on this assignments throughout the semester. There will be 3 assignments that you'll complete throughout the semester. We will discuss this much more later on in the semester. And there is a project that we'll discuss later on as well. the big goal for this project is to prepare you for your thesis or capstone. So in a lot of ways, this project should act like a seed for your thesis or capstone project. In order for you all to graduate, you will need to complete a thesis or capstone project. Some of you, if you're a BSMS student, you will need to do a thesis project. Many of you, due to your funding agency, whoever is paying for your degree, if you're getting support in any way, you will have to complete a thesis project. Others of you will decide to do a capstone project. But at the end of the day, this project you're doing in SWEN 640, this course, should get you ready for your thesis or capstone project. So really the goal is for you to use a lot of material for this project in your thesis or capstone. And as you can see here, there's about 4 major deliverables along with a research poster that you will end up doing. And this is something we will discuss throughout the semester as well. There are links to the lecture slides, which are available via Google Docs. Now these will update throughout the semester, but if you feel like reading ahead, you can definitely do that. There are some slides there for you. And in this resources tab, this contains a lot of different links to various resources that we'll be discussing throughout the semester. And frankly, I think will be very helpful for you conducting research and when you're working on your thesis or capstone project. So some of these articles are really good early on throughout the course to make sure you're familiar with different topics we're going to talk about. Like make sure that you can access the ACM and IEEE resources. You can log into these using your RIT Wally login. And there are other resources like from Tauzi and LaTeX resources and different writing guides that we'll discuss throughout the semester. But moving back to the schedule, you can see this is the summer version of the course, so it's listed to be 10 weeks. And you see each week this is our main topic. There's the readings you'll end up doing, and these readings are from the Leedy and Ormrod books. And you'll see different items which are due. These items are due usually at the start of class, unless otherwise noted. And we'll talk a little bit about more of these when we switch to my courses right now. So when you log into my courses, you will see a short welcome message. Under course content, you will note that we will periodically publish some different talks that different software engineering researchers will give, so we'll publish information in the content section. You'll see different items within the Dropbox location, and so you will submit everything for this course into the My Courses Dropbox section. So all deliverables you'll be making will be submitted via My Courses. And on the right-hand side here, you can see the due date, and in this case, everything is due at 11:59 p.m., so a minute before midnight. And the Dropbox will remain open after that, but it's after 11:59 p.m. submission that will be considered late, so you'll be losing some points. And so if there are any questions on due dates or any discrepancies you see between what's in my courses and what's on the main course website, send me an email. Don't guess. I do my best to make sure the due dates on the main course website are as up to date as possible. But from time to time, things get goofy, so if you have any questions, send me a note. And the other item in here, you'll make note of our grades, and all grades will be entered in my courses. And so that's pretty much all we'll be using my courses for, as far as major things. The other thing that we'll talk about throughout the semester is that every week you're going to be conducting a short research analysis. And this research analysis is intended to expose you to a wide variety of different scholarly readings. Much of doing research is reading and understanding the current current state of the art of different works. So you're going to spend a lot of time reading this semester. And so what you'll do is every week you will be expected to select a different reading, and you will have to post a screencast of you doing a presentation on that reading to just like a screencast I'm doing now. And so that's something you'll upload to my courses. And every week we're going to be going through and reviewing somebody else's research readings. And so this is something we'll talk about a little bit more. But make sure that you're checking out this research analysis listing and prepare yourself for selecting a paper to read and talk about that next week. So now that we've gone over the course a bit, let's go and we'll talk a little bit more about the topic of research in software engineering. So what is research? So I think a lot of times when we think about research, we think about somebody in a white lab coat and sitting in a room looking at a microscope and, finding some different scientific discovery or, maybe finding the cure to a disease. A lot of times I think we think of research as something somebody else does. But in all reality, research is something that everybody can do. And you've done research before. Maybe you've done research on discovering which would be the best phone model for you, or what's the best operating system for you. So those are not the types of research that we will be covering in this course, obviously. But the process that you went through when you're discovering that new phone you wanted to buy is a lot of the same process we will go through when we're conducting research in the course. So, for example, when you were trying to find out which phone model you wanted to buy, you might say, these are criteria. This is how we're going to evaluate the different phone models out there. And this is how we'll measure success. And so you'd go and you'd look at the different phone models. You'd say maybe you want Android or iOS. You'd look at the prices. And then the day you'd use a process to determine which phone you wanted to buy. So a lot of research is about process. It's about looking at the questions you want to ask. It's about coming up with the criteria. It's about designing the study. It's about performing the study. And then it's about answering those research questions that you set out to expose. So research can look like a lot of things. And so some topics in software engineering might be mining fine-grained code change to detect unknown change patterns, or making web pages more energy efficient on smartphones, or improving an algorithm. There's innumerable research topics in software engineering that you will read about throughout this semester. So I think that's something that's really cool, because you can think about an area that's interesting to you and find a research topic in that area. I would initially, when you're reading papers, I would say to be a sponge. Try to just read and absorb as much as you can. Don't try to find a topic right away. Just find an area that interests you. And once you find an area that interests you, then I would start digging deeper and see if there's any research topics that interest you in those areas. One thing I'm very much against is trying to find a research topic that doesn't interest you, because that will be a long and difficult process for you. And frankly, it's not something you'll probably succeed. Not something that you'll probably succeed in. So there's a lot of different research questions you can examine in software engineering. One question might be grouped in the sense of methods or means of development. That would be, how do you create X? What is a better way to create X? There's different types of analysis you can be searching through. So how do you evaluate the quality or correctness of X? How do you choose between X and Y? If you're trying to do design, evaluation, or analysis of a particular instance, you say, what is the better design? Or how does X compare to Y as far as designs go? Maybe it's a feasibility study. So does X even exist? If so, what does it look like? And is it even possible to accomplish X at all? So at the end of the day, you want to measure your results in research and in software engineering. When evaluating or measuring your results, you need to do that to say, did you fulfill your hypothesis? Did you fulfill your research questions? And there's different types of results you can come up with. That could be a procedure or technique, so maybe a new or better way to do a different task. It could be a qualitative or descriptive model, so a structured taxonomy of a problem area, maybe checklists or a different process in that regard. Now, there are a lot of different results that we'll talk about through the semester. One result could be an empirical model. An empirical model